Morning.
Buang Jones, morning. Welcome to the chaos that's the South African morning.
No, I'm not.
Where are you in the rank?
There are too many grandkids.
You don't know your position?
There's more than 20.
Wow, more than 20 grandkids.
Yes.
I'm sure you've made them proud amongst other cousins of yours, of course.
Yes.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming in. So, you've decided to call it quits. I think a lot of people were surprised when we saw the headlines, we saw the news breaking as well. I think it was just, you are so entrenched. I think when people think of the SAHRC in Gauteng, this is the face we see, this is the name we know. Why the move?
Well, I think that, a good dancer knows when to leave the stage. And I think I have accomplished all I had set out to achieve at the South African Human Rights Commission. And I think it's now time for the next chapter, which is to focus on building a legal practice that is focused on human rights. And I'll be doing that under Buang Jones attorneys.
So that's what you'll be doing full-time?
Full-time. I'll also have a consultancy that focuses on business and human rights.
Right. So are you leaving, the SA Human Rights Commission where you want it to be, where your heart says it's in the right place, or is there a lot of work that still needs to go into the commission?
There's still a lot of work. There are a number of legacy projects that I started. Among those projects is the Vaal River Inquiry Report, which will outlive me and many others who are part of the commission. And it was one of my highlights because prior to our intervention in the Vaal, there had been more than 8 contempt of court orders against the Mfuleni local municipality. There had not been any significant work that was done by government to improve the situation in the Vaal. And following our intervention and the report, the Commission was able to get government to do something about it. As we speak, there's a remediation of the Vaal River system. They've appointed an implementing agent, and in the next 3 to 4 years, we'll start seeing changes on the ground.
We'll talk a lot about some of the work that's been done, not just by you, but by the SAHRC as well. Rise in protests in South Africa, racism issues that you had to deal with as well. But I want to get your thoughts on, before we come back to you a little bit later. So you're stepping away now. Victor Mabudula is the name that I see as being put forward. Tell us about Victor. Why is he the person to take over from you? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who will take your role if they could get it. They're going to interview it. Why do you recommend Victor?
Well, I think Victor, I call him my leader and my elder because he is much older than me and he's been in the human rights space for quite a long time. And he's currently the public face of the commission in Limpopo province. And like me, he enjoys being on the ground, interacting with ordinary people, advancing human rights, and also engaging with scholars on human rights issues, the provincial government. He's very bold and fiercely independent. And I think he's someone that could really carry on with what we started 5 years ago in Gauteng.
Yeah. So even with that recommendation, you of course recommending Victor, I understand there'll still be an internal process in appointing the next head, right?
Yes, it's going to be subjected to a competitive process.
Okay.
The commission may even invite external candidates to apply for the position. But I'm hoping that the commission will consider internal candidates.
Yeah. What does it take to be in a position of an SA Human Rights Commission head? What kind of a leader do you need to be, and what leadership role do you need to assume, of course, when you get into such a position?
I think it requires someone who is a transformational leader, someone who's very agile, someone who really cares about the plight of the poor, because the Commission has to speak for the voiceless, the defenseless. The Commission also has to influence government and the corporate sector, because even the corporate sector is enjoined to promote compliance with the Bill of Rights. We are also required to advise government on human rights issues, and you require someone who is really assertive, someone who understands the South African landscape, the challenges, the historical context of some of the challenges we're still grappling with as a country.
And all of those issues you just spoke about now, while we just end this part of the discussion, we're going to spend quite a few minutes with Buang. So just by the way, if you've just tuned in, you'd like to get any comments through to Buang, you can tweet us at ENCA, the hashtag The South African Morning. I've also got my phone with me. Tumza isn't on Twitter, so don't try. You can tweet me at Gareth Edwards SA. I've got my phone with me. And we're going to spend most of the hour with Buang. But for the moment, I'm curious to ask, the name Victor Mabudula put forward, you're stepping aside. It's Women's Month. Isn't it time we see a woman in charge of the SAHRC in Gauteng or one of the provinces?
Well, I took over from the current acting CEO, Chantel Kisoon, and maybe the Commission should again give a woman a chance.
Does a name come to mind?
Internally. Yes, there's a couple of names. There's Kellyanne Cleophas. She's currently the Senior Legal Officer in the Gauteng office. There's Martina Hunter. She's also the Senior Legal Officer. There's Shelley Mlombo. She's the Provincial Head in the Northwest. Eileen Carter in the Eastern Cape. These are very bright, young and bright minds who could take the Commission forward.
All right. We're going to talk to you, of course, Buang Jones, still continuing with getting to know not only Buang, but also just picking his mind about what's happening in the country. He did mention about the July unrest last year. We know that he said in some of those inquiries, many, I suppose, just amongst them being the July unrest and what he thinks, of course, about some of the human rights violations in the country that we have to talk about. Just recently being, of course, the women that are being gang raped at Krugersdorp, and that case still ongoing, and what Buang Jones thinks needs to be done, at least from a Human Rights Commission's perspective.